not done trying to fight that fight. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about some other things. But Russell over here, of course, he's former federal prosecutor, and Chance won't be with us today, but we have Scott. Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your background. He is one of our instructors here at JM4. So
Okay. My background, retired law enforcement out of criminal investigations and in state of Arizona, and worked homicide and serious felony crimes, and then relocated back to the area out here, what I call home.
and you do a lot of you did a lot of um, um, force on force stuff like that.
I did a lot of force on force, taught use of force for the law enforcement agency I came out of, and I retired out of the second largest county in the continental U.S. And with that, I trained different law enforcement agencies on use of force, and I was a defensive tactics instructor for police.
Okay,
as
well, Scott is one of the instructors here at JM4 Dimensions, and we appreciate it. He's done a lot of work. He's worked for us a couple of years.
Nice.
I know y'all just met today, and Chance had texted me yesterday. He's got a friend that had a little bit of an emergency, so he couldn't make it. So he texted me last night. So I was like, Scott.
I know, that's perfect, man. My good fortune to make his acquaintance.
Yeah, I was like, I'm calling Scott.
Put me on the spot, troops.
Yeah, he did. He's like, Scott's like, I'm not. Well, I've never done that before. I said, oh, good. I'll see you at 5:30.
Oh, man.
So anyway, Scott's a great instructor, and he's worked with us for a couple of years, and he's done a phenomenal job here, and we really appreciate him and his background and his experience and things like that. But go back to USCCA. USCCA, of course, they put out this statement, and it. Let me see if I can read that real quick. And I want your. Did you read it? I sent it to you.
I did, yeah.
What? Okay, so let's. I don't have my glasses, so we're gonna. I don't even. Okay. A new court filing shows that even though the 2023 or 2023 pistol brace rule was wiped off the books, the ATF is still arguing that some brace equipment pistols can be treated as short barrel rifles under existing federal law. The ATF says that current brace rules case should be dismissed as moot because of the 2023 ruling has already been vacated nationwide. The agency also made it clear it still plans to enforce the NFA and GCA against some brace pistols on case-by-case basis. Well, that becomes, it goes on to, in plain terms, the rule can be gone, but ATF says the underlying law still applies if the firearm meets the stationary definition of the SBR. Well, a lot of people, and that's the thing, is nobody's going to hold a 16 and a half barrel, firearm with a pistol brace on it. They're going to have, it's a short barrel, with the stock replaced with the pistol brace. It's going to be a case by case, but I mean that's kind of almost scary.
So I don't understand how it can be a case by case when you have a state ruling, federal ruling, and how can it be case by case? But from a law enforcement standpoint, officers that are out in the field, it's going to come down from supervision to briefing within the law enforcement agencies. Oh, there's a new law. This is void, not void. The one thing in case by case, I think, from a law enforcement perspective, and a lot of times it's going to be the field officer that's making the stop within a vehicle, or say they go to a residence, be it whatever the cause of being at the residence. The first thing that I believe they should be training our officers is look for modification of that firearm. And officers have a little bit higher level of understanding firearms because they carry a firearm for a living. But the one thing I would offer is look for any type of modification. There's going to be your red flag right there. And if they want to consider that case by case, I don't know. That's a gray area because you got letter of the law and you got color of the law.
So I nerd out about this stuff. I love, and this is like a great example of just how fascinating the law can be. So I want to read this definition of what exactly is prohibited, right? And so we're going to start with the definition of a short-barreled rifle. So 26 United States Code 5845 defines an SBR as, quote, a rifle having a barrel less than 16 inches in length, or a weapon made from a rifle with an overall length under 26 inches or barrel under 16 inches. So that's pretty common. I think, and most people in law enforcement, when I was a federal prosecutor, when I would get these SBR cases, it was pretty elementary. They're measuring the length of the barrel, and if it's under 16 inches, they're arresting them. So this overturning of the ATF rule, I think, really created some ambiguity. To your point, when we're looking at a bright line rule, now that this rule's been overturned, I think it introduced some of that ambiguity. But here's what I want to get back. Here's the great thing about this definition of an SBR. Their critical word is rifle. So, all right, well, what's a rifle? And so we look at the definition of a rifle, and it's a weapon designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. All right. Well, now, so in order for it to be an SBR, it has to, one, be a rifle, which means it has to be designed to be fired from the shoulder. And it has to have a barrel length of 16 inches or shorter, or an overall length of 26 inches or shorter. You guys follow me so far?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what I love about this is the fight happens in what the definition of firearm is. So when we talk about the brace rule, it's, does a brace make the gun designed or intended to be designed to be fired from the shoulder? So you guys are the firearm experts. You tell me. Do you think?
Well, that's the whole purpose behind a pistol brace, is you do have a shorter barrel. They're going to be shorter than under 16 inches. But you're removing the shoulder stock, and you're replacing it with the pistol brace. So now you're able to wrap it around your wrist,
right,
and hold it one hand, and it's not designed to be fired from the shoulder.
So what the ATF is saying in the report you sent me, and I think it's an important distinction, is, look, the rule may have been abrogated,
Mm-hmm.
but the underlying law is still on the books. And so if you have a pistol brace and you're using it as a brace is designed to be, bracing your arm, then you're fine, right? But a lot of people, I think, they design a brace, they alter it where it could be designed to be fired from the shoulder. So if you're doing that, one of the things ATF is going to be looking at is intent, right? So, if JM4 Tactical is selling pistol braces and the photographs show the braces, on the forearm, and they're using it to brace, you're fine. But if you're putting marketing material out and you're saying, and all your marketing materials show a brace that's being shot from the shoulder, and you're telling people, hey, this is a great way to do it, and in your instructional videos, it's being shot from the shoulder, ATF may have a legitimate basis to say, wait a minute, the intent is consistent with the law. And so,
But see, and that goes back to why this whole law was fought in the first place, because ATF can't make law.
yeah,
And that's what they
right.
did. When they did these pistol braces, they made law. They made it, and that's what the whole fight was over, is they can't make law.
Yeah.
So, but then yet they're doing it again, saying, yes, it's been thrown out, but we're still going to, your average Joe, we can still, case by case, still use,
well, what I see, and I see it all the time, and I'm sure you guys see it all the time, is government overreach.
Oh, yeah.
It is, you give a mouse a cookie, kind of mentality, and they just keep taking. Give them an inch, you take a mile, and this is one of the rare instances where you see the courts slap him down and say, "No, sir, you do not get to make the law. You can make rules, but you can't change the law." Right? That is that is not an administrative function. Um, and so what ATF is saying here is like, okay, I got my tail tucked between my legs. We understand we can't make change the law, but there is a law on the books, and how we interpret it is that if you're using these braces um, to be fired from the shoulder, then we think that's going to meet the definition
Okay.
on the existing law. And if you do that, we're coming for you.
So just don't post no pictures on Instagram
Yeah.
or Facebook, and you're good to go.
That's right. Yeah.
Number one
Sage,
rule.
sage advice. Yeah.
You know what was funny is we went through, and there was when they banned pistol braces or whatever it was, or they were at first when you weren't allowed to. We do we're Amazon affiliates and stuff like that, and we don't post a lot of stuff on Amazon besides our own products, but we just, because we're in a business of selling on Amazon. There was a deal come across my feed. They were selling pistol braces as bicycle handles on Amazon.
Wait, say this again?
Pistol braces, because they have the for the tube,
Yeah.
as bicycle handles. And they were going for $20. So you know me, I'm gonna post that link. I'm be like, hey, look at all these bicycle handles. That sucker went crazy, because and people were getting them because they were, I don't know where they were shipping them from. I don't care, none of my business. To me, that's a bicycle handle. And I even showed it going on the end of my son's bicycle.
Oh, that's amazing.
But they were going like crazy for $20. And I was like, hey, it fits your bicycle handle perfectly. And they were going crazy on the internet because people were just buying the hell out of them. You could have them shipped to your house, have them the next day or 2 days later.
It's all how you put lipstick on a pig.
Yes, it
It's
is.
kind of like back in the old days, brass knuckles. Oh no, that's illegal as could be. They're paperweights now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's just a paperweight.
Yeah, that's a paperweight. It's the same thing when they say, it's don't carry, always, if you carry a baseball bat around in the trunk of your car, make sure you carry a baseball glove.
That's very true.
It's kind of the same thing,
So when they get out to attack, they're going to have a glove on one hand, the bat going. I was just
Yeah, I was carrying the bat because I play softball, but it's the same thing here. Those are bicycle handles. They fit perfectly on the tubing of a bicycle.
I think that the takeaway, Chad, for anyone listening is, still the responsible use. And I think most of our listeners are the type of person that's going to be responsible and take it serious. If you're going to use a pistol brace, and you are thinking of creative ways to use that pistol brace, I think we're in an environment where ATF is less likely to enforce those. But if you're confronted, right, one of the essential elements is knowledge, and you want to make clear that I don't have knowledge that it was illegal. I did not intend to use it as a shoulder brace or to shoot from the shoulder. I think that's really what they're going to try to convince you and try to trick you to admit to. And if you're like, oh no, and if there's a photograph of you, one, I'd say, don't talk, get a lawyer. But if you are talking, I would make it clear that I'm not shooting it from the shoulder. I thought that was a.
If you need a lawyer, make sure you call Russell and make sure you have USCCA insurance because we've all got it. I mean, I 100% believe in their product because it's going to help you pay for your defense. But I tell people all the time in the class, you should have been preparing for your defense 5 years ago.
That's right.
You should not be. You do not post anything on the internet, any comments, anything like that. And it brings up the fact that where that sergeant had run over that protester down in Austin. Well, that become a big problem. Yes, the protester come at him with an AK, the Uber driver, he was off duty, for the Army. Sergeant pulled his gun, shot the protester. Protester had posted on his Facebook that he was taking his AK to that protest, and if anybody tried to run him over, he was going to use it. Well, that's a pretty clear cut, except for the Uber driver has now posted, like a year ago, that if he sees a protest and they try to block it, he's just going to run them over. So
I
I mean,
hadn't
like,
seen that.
huh?
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, and you're like, it happened a couple of years ago, and you're like, what? I mean, how do you even take that at this point? So we tell people, prepare your self-defense case. You know, don't post anything stupid. Don't post anything incriminating. Don't post comments. They're going to bring all that up, and
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
gonna
you're
come
you're a
out.
defense lawyer.
Yeah. So I think of recently, I represented one of the January 6 patriots who they were arrested after the inauguration of well, I guess as Trump's farewell. But one of the things that got our client in trouble is one of his colleagues had posted a picture on Instagram or Facebook, and look, the government's got some high tech
Yeah, they do.
info, man. I mean, those guys don't play around. When you get those 3-letter organizations involved, they were able to track the type of gun and look at the metadata from the photograph and the serial numbers, and then you're able to use facial recognition to track where our clients were throughout the protest. And if we hadn't posted that photo, it's unlikely that our client would have been identified. So, when you talk about starting your defense 5 years ago and just being smart, right? I mean, I don't think these guys were doing anything illegal. At least I don't think my client was at the
Yeah.
time. But all from posting a photo and just doing something that was kind of amateur.
And that they go back and look at stuff like that, and they try to use that. I mean, I bring up the whole deal with Kyle Rittenhouse. They used, my son actually walked into my room today and was like, I was watching the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and do you know they used his Instagram, 4 doors and more whores, against him? I was like, yeah, son. They were trying to make him look, but he was a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the character of a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid. To have Instagram handles like, if you're saying that about a 50-year-old man, now it's you're kind of balancing that out, going, yeah, why does he have an Instagram account that says 4 doors more whores, and he's in his 50s versus being 18? So I think they were really stretching and reaching for every bit of anything they could do on him.
Well, we live in a society now that's built on sound bites, and it's so easy to take things out of context, especially in the criminal justice system. I can tell you 100% of the federal trials I've done, without exception, the government has introduced portions of jail calls, incriminating jail calls.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, if we had the full scope, or what the newspaper picks up is just a snippet. But the fact that you're able to cherry pick and take just the one comment from Instagram or the one photograph without providing a full context, the media doesn't care about that. A jury may care, but it's your job to get in front of them. And once you're on the defense, you're fighting the whole time to clarify, and that's never a good position to be in as an advocate. So
Yeah, I mean, you were a homicide detective. I mean, doing some of that stuff. I mean, anything with our viewers. I'm not saying that you go out and commit homicide, but like some of the things that you may have, looked for, on maybe a self-defense case.
But- a lot of research that goes into, and I tell the people viewing the podcast, if you're going to carry, and back to the subject of the pistol and the brace and all, educate yourself on this. Educate what your state laws are, how you can. It is classified as a pistol. the way I understand it now, instead of a short rifle. But educate yourself on if you're going to carry it, and I'll do an equivalent here. When you have a LTC class that you put on forever around here, you trained cajillion people, and then constitutional carry came out. And then you have people go and they strap a gun on. Now they don't have any idea what the gun laws are, state laws are, and that equivalent. Well, there's, in my opinion, there's a liability issue there. Well, have you, say they get on the stand, have you had any training? Well, no, but I have the right to carry. Well, hold on, Tiger.
Well, and that's the thing is when they pass that law, which I'm for that law. I'm for and here is why. It's
but I'm for education on top of that.
Yes, but they're an adult that is now going to carry a firearm. They're an adult, and it's their responsibility to get education and training. And if they don't, that's their fault, no one else's.
And it falls back onto the pistol brace issue.
Yeah.
You may have to, the way I started this conversation out, a lot of your street level officers, and they show up and they see it, and as I said earlier, they may not have they'll have gun knowledge, but maybe not of that specific type or classification or nomenclature of that weapon. But if you, as someone who is carrying or purchases one, if you can just have that basic knowledge, I'm not asking you, I'm for constitutional carry, absolutely. But I would also educate, you need to educate yourself, because at some point you will, or let me put it this way, you could be confronted by law enforcement, and the way you present yourself going, well, having knowledge of this could possibly make it a lot easier on the outcome.
Well, look, I'll tell you, I've made this argument in court before.
Okay.
With some success, that there's a real benefit to still obtaining your license to carry, even in a constitutional carry environment. The way I interpret the unlawful carry statute, I think there's a good argument based on sound law that you cannot be charged with a UCW violation if you have your license, concealed license. And so I think there's a real protection for people that have their concealed license and they're in compliance with the concealed license regulations in a constitutional carry, because I've made the argument successfully. I've had cases dismissed where I've said, I don't think you have jurisdiction under the statute to charge anyone. So it's a very nuanced argument. I'll have to, next time I'm on, I'll have to break down the law and how that works. But so I think you see a lot of folks rely on constitutional carry. I think it makes a lot more sense to get educated, go through the process, get your concealed license regardless, the coursework, because I think in the long run it could really save your bacon.
Oh yeah, definitely, because you're getting educated, you're getting, and in fact our LTC classes have increased.
Wow.
The number of people have increased quite a bit because people do want to learn. They do want to get education, and there are ones that don't. And, they feel, or they're going to go do it themselves, or they just don't want to do it, and they think it's their constitutional right. When in reality it's permanentless carry. I think that because and they don't understand the difference between 30-05 signs. And walking past the 30-05 sign without a license to carry. Well, that's a Class A trespassing. Plain and simple. Is that a jailable offense?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't look good. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah, you're not going to look good in orange, right?
Yeah. So it's one of those deals. But yeah, sorry, I was trying to share this with my my parents, because my dad, they love them to death, but they're not.
And you're
so
texting and podcasting at the same
Yeah,
time?
I'm texting the podcast to my dad
Yeah, okay.
and my mom. That's what I'm doing. I've texted it to them. And so yeah, there we go. So so it really wasn't text. I'm just sending the link.
Yeah.
Oh, my parents are something else. I tell them all the time. I don't know. Tell my dad, you 1 foot in you want. He does something. I'll be like, you 1 foot in the nursing home.
That's wrong.
Give me a I mean, he called me the other day because he had to have my address because apparently if you're over 65, you now have to renew your license, I think, once a year
Oh, wow.
or something like that. And they have to give an address of a relative. So he goes in and gets his address. He goes in and gets his driver's license. He's calling me for my address. And I'm like, yep, we just one step closer. No, they're characters.
You're
They
scaring
are.
me, Chad, because I turned 65 a while back, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me.
I need to
He
look
was
at
telling me
life.
something about that, or maybe it was 68. I don't know, but that's what he was
Let's go
telling
with
me.
68. That sounds better.
He was
Sounds
saying
better.
something about they've got to get their license renewed every year, every 2 years now, and he had to have a family member's or something because he was calling me from the DMV. Needing my address, and I was like, "What? Okay,
Yeah,
all
here you
right.
go. Go ahead and get it. Yeah.
Yeah."
I'll let you know. My wallet's in the truck.
But apparently he went to renew it, and that's what he had to do. Or I'll have to ask him the entire deal about it. But you're right. It is people's responsibility. It's one of the things that we push on our or we don't push on. We recommend it is USCCA because they have that platform. They have that that app. If you're a member, you get to go on it. You get to look at the laws. You get to look stuff like that, especially if you're traveling. And so if we're going from here to Colorado, I can go in and look at the laws in New Mexico and Colorado and get a rundown of what magazines, if they allow, over 15 round mags, or if they allow this or things like that. So
And it's so easy nowadays, when it comes to social media and a lot of these young'uns and we as the older class that are
Yeah.
studying, we're always training ourselves into what does this do? How does it do that? Where did that come from? So on and so forth. But when you can turn around and go, let me check into the gun laws. That's research as well.
and don't trust AI. Okay, you really need to look into this, and we'll get into. We talked about AI earlier. Do not trust AI for all your information. Don't do that. AI sometimes wants to tell you what they want you to hear.
That's right. Yeah. I almost think
Hey.
there's like a conspiracy with
Yeah.
the algorithm to.
And I brought up this fact. I seen and you'd read about it. I think you said it was in Georgia where a lawyer had presented 5 cases to a judge to basically, hey, we've got 5 prior cases here that's all ruled this way. Come to find out, those cases don't exist at all. They never happened. So either A, she lied about them, or B, she had AI pull them up, and they're fictional cases. And you've seen that already. And
I think it's an epidemic in the legal profession. It's called hallucinations, where AI, it's just guessing, right? The way their algorithm works, and so sometimes it'll just fabricate cases. It just makes them up out of thin air, and it does that not just in the legal profession, but it does it with all kinds of things. And a lot of lawyers are taking the path of least resistance instead of doing the work and the due diligence and taking pride in their craft. They're just going to AI. They're printing something out and filing it. What's unique about this case is it's not like you're doing it with a state district judge or fighting a traffic ticket. You're doing it at the Supreme Court of a state. And you better believe these clerks are going through and they're pulling all those citations. And if you've like fabricated it, I mean, it is shocking. I don't know what the functional equivalent would be for you, Chad, or what it would be in law enforcement, Scott. It would be like, I mean, it'd be like having a fake gun, like it's like going to trial saying, oh, this guy had he had a shotgun and it was like a water gun or something.
Yeah.
It's like it's humiliating. I feel so bad for this lawyer. I mean, it's her fault, but man, you do not want to be that person.
Oh yeah, that judge is. I mean, could she lose her law license over
Oh,
that?
100%. You know, when the court asked her about it, they put her on the spot.
Yeah, they did.
And I think from what I've been told is that she said, well, I'll.
And she's a prosecutor.
Oh, was she?
Yeah,
Was she prosecutor? I
she
didn't
was-
see that.
Yeah,
Oh,
she was a
man.
prosecutor.
Come on now, do better, do better. It is, you know,
or
it
something.
is-
Yeah.
It is. They tell you your first year in law school, right? Everyone has to go through this moot court where it's essentially like you're pretending to be in front of an appellate court, like the Supreme Court. And they tell you, because a lot of people are scared of public speaking, if a judge ever asks you a question that you don't have an answer to, then you say, Your Honor, I don't have that in front of me. I'll get you supplemental briefing on that. And it's kind of a joke, right? It's kind of comical because real lawyers don't really do that. But this woman did.
Yes.
When they asked her, explain to me why you have 5 completely fabricated cases in your brief, she said, Your Honor, I don't have a explanation for that. I'll get supplemental briefing to you. And you know, it's just cringeworthy. You feel bad, but if you're a professional and you're going to rely on AI, at least verify. You know,
Yes.
what did Reagan say? Trust but verify. You know, it's
Well, come on. It was on social media, so it must be true.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Come on, AI. I go to these AI investigator conferences each year, and I stay steady on top of it. And the categories of the AI that are put out there, one, it will give you kind of guess what they're finding out. One of them is opinion. I'm not giving names, but one of them is opinion based, and one of them is they struggle the best they can to make it fact based. But it's never fact based. But it's incumbent upon anybody that's doing research from anything social media wise. AI is no different. And you've got to cross-reference it, and let's say you as investigators, you have to cross-reference it to find out what the truth actually is before you open up and do something stupid or say
Oh
something
yeah,
stupid.
definitely. You've
But, just for those listening, AI is, you got to verify it.
Trust
Yeah.
but verify.
yes, 100%.
Let's talk. I'm intrigued. I didn't realize, Scott, that you had a background as a homicide investigator. I've defended people accused of murder. I've prosecuted people of murder. I'm curious to see in a self-defense kind of context. Have you ever had someone that shot and killed someone and said, "Hey, I did it in self-defense"?
Yes. I had a case that went for Dateline.
Wow. Okay.
And a homicide case, and I got to be careful how I word this, but as a detective, I had information of evidence that was suppressed by the district attorney's office, and I brought that to the attention of going, they're coming up for grand jury. Here's this evidence. My case. And I was ordered to suppress it. This is
Wow.
factual.
What?
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
kidding?
This is going to blow a bunch of your minds right here. It's factual. Happened to be very good friends with the attorney that represented Fife Simonton in Arizona. He's a personal friend of mine. I had a gag order on me for 4 years. Long story short, the guy got sentenced to prison.
Who did?
The guy that pulled the trigger in self-defense, he was in
The
prison.
one where the prosecutor told you to bury some evidence, not to turn it over.
Yeah.
He was going to suppress it.
It's
Wow.
hard to believe.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
It's factual.
that is.
And once I retired out of law enforcement, and I made double sure because that gag order didn't no longer, per legal counsel, applied to me. I contacted this attorney and advised him where this suppressed evidence was. He took it for Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Generally, they take it under review. With the information provided, he was ordered released immediately. I got him out of prison.
Well, and I'm going to bring up, there was, you remember the homeless guy that was run over out here in front of our building?
Vaguely.
Anyways, our cameras are 4K. They picked that up. They seen it all. Our cameras.
Wait, all right. I'm going to stop you real quick. Sorry. Is this recent?
About 2 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm sure.
Yeah, I was like,
Okay.
do I represent?
No.
I see
No. This is a couple years ago. So they called us at home, and they were like, "We need you to come up here." And I was like, "We need your cameras like ASAP," because the car had drove off. Well, the problem when you look is he walked around the parking lot. He went out there. He was dressed all in black. He laid down. Okay, in the fast lane. Car comes along, hits him. I honestly do not believe that she knew what she hit. She pulled into the auto zone. This is like 6:30 in the morning, 6:15. Sun not even up yet. Pulls in. Cars are driving by. Okay, and kind of going around him like it's a trash bag or something like that, because she pulls back out, pulls into the turning lane, shines her headlights, and then backs up and leaves. But cars are slowing down and kept driving. One lady called and said that she thinks she ran over a dog. Totally did not know what she ran over. I 100% believe that. We turned over the video because it shows that. It shows how many people are traveling up and down this road, passing him by, not knowing what it was in the road, including, her car jumped. But,
oh, man.
So we give everything over to law enforcement. Not a big deal, because in my opinion, with that many people, finally a deputy sheriff finally drove by, turned around, pulls back in the turn lane, put his lights on because it looked like maybe he was going to clean some debris off. Gets out, walks over there, stops, and then goes back and calls, and then calls it in. So apparently he didn't know what it was either driving by, and because she drug him. I mean, it was bad.
Man,
It
so
was
you
completely-
turned over the video cameras.
Okay, I turned over the video
Did
showing.
you know that snitches get stitches?
Well, no,
Chad?
because it shows her innocent from what we all viewed.
Yeah,
It
from
showed
your perspective.
From our perspective, and it wasn't just mine. It was pretty much everybody in the office. In fact, after this, I'll show you the video.
Yeah.
So we turned everything over, law enforcement. Everything's good. I really did not think they were going to file charges on her. They did.
Wow.
Okay. Well, long story short, about 2 or 3 months later, I thought it was all done and over with. About 3 months later, there was a guy, I'm not going to say what lawyer, and this, another lady and a really short, older lady walking around our parking lot. And we're like, so I walked out there and I said, hey, can I help y'all? He's like, oh, we're just over here. A couple of months back, my client here had accidentally hit somebody. I said, yeah. I said, wait a minute. He said, well, I represent her. I said, they charged her? He's like, yeah. I was like, you got the video, right? He's like, the only video we got was really grainy, and you couldn't see anything.
What?
And I said, hold the fuck on. I said, no. I said, we got 4K cameras out here. I said, why don't you come on in the building? We're fixing to give you that video.
Yeah,
And
talking about Chad, yeah.
And so I brought him in and we gave him that video.
And he hadn't seen it. Man.
The one he said he's seen, He seen, but it was so grainy you couldn't see anything. So I don't know how that all transpired, but it wasn't that long either. He said it was real short. So it was almost like it was cut and edited. But the problem was they were charging her. And that's not right because that was a suicide attempt.
Oh, I see it. I have 3 cases right now where a homeless person has been hit and they've charged him every time. The first time I rarely do this. I looked at the video, said, "This is clearly a person that has a death wish, trying to kill themselves." I go to law enforcement. I say, "Hey, client, tell them everything, right? Have them waive their rights, talk to them." I thought, no way they're going to charge him. Nope, gets charged. I mean, so I see this all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, let me give you this fact pattern. You guys tell me what your thought is. It's 5 in the morning, dark, it's raining. There's a guy in a wheelchair, homeless person, drug induced. They've got some issue. They're acting up, and he essentially is trying to cross at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and a car hits him. Right? You had a guy in a wheelchair. You're probably going to know about it, right? The guy keeps going. Right? 5 minutes later, this guy's just laying in the middle of the street. A second car comes, hits him. That guy keeps going. And then a third car, my client, he pulls up at a parking lot, driving the speed limit. It's a commercial driver, so he's got cameras inside, cameras outside. Everything's documented. So he's driving about 12 miles an hour. And he slowly turns out of the parking lot and goes. And you can see there's like a slight bump. And he thought it was weird, pulls off into a parking lot, looks at his car to see what he hit. Oh, that's strange. And gets in his car and takes off. Third person, middle of the night, guy's wearing dark clothing. They do a toxicology. He's got all kinds of drugs in his system. What do you think? You think that's intent? You think that's enough to
No, I
charge
think
someone?
no. I mean, he should not be charged with that.
Yeah, if you're on a jury I think it was failure to render aid. Guy was like valedictorian, never been in trouble, has no criminal history. Called later that day and said, "Hey, I saw on Facebook. I think I might have been involved. I have video. Do you need to see it?" So, from a law enforcement perspective, you see he's cooperative. He's providing. Am I the only one that thinks that's insane? That
No, I had a case identical to that of an individual run over, and the lighting was very dark. The guy pulls over thinking he ran over a traffic cone or something, walks around his vehicle, doesn't see anything, drives off. Well, we get called, and we have a dead body, plastic part from underneath the vehicle. I take it, do what we do, identify the type of vehicle it belonged to and who has those vehicles registered. Long story short, found the fella that ran over it, knocked on his door, and not a clue. Totally not a clue.
And that's the same way with this lady.
And was charged.
Yeah.
and he got charged.
He got charged.
Do you know what happened in that case?
It got dismissed.
Yeah.
Well, this lady out here, I think she ended up pleading out, but she was probably in her almost early 70s, mid 70s,
Yeah, man.
just going to work. Just
Wow.
nicest person in the world. So no, but when you watch him, he walks around. The police had already been called on him for being up here, walking out in front of traffic down here by the country club.
Yeah.
So they were already aware. Well, when I asked the lawyer if he knew about those 911 calls, because we were told about them, he said no. He didn't know they had been called already up here. So, but I think she ended up pleading out,
Oh,
and it's sad
That's
because
sad.
she had there was so much, I 100% believe she did not know, because there was cars driving by with her headlights shining, there was cars driving by with him in the middle. Nobody stopped. Nobody tried, if one of those cars would have stopped, like, oh my God, there's a dead body in the road. maybe a little different if she'd have drove off, but nobody knew. I
Yeah.
mean, all black clothing. He dropped his cell phone over next door in the bar ditch. Walks around over there, comes back over here, walks out in the road, and lays down. All black.
And you
Dressed
caught it
in
on
all
camera.
black.
Yeah, I look at the emotional trauma that she went through because
Oh,
I remember
100%.
talking to the
She was a
gentleman
nerd.
that ran over in my case.
Well, she was a nurse.
He had no criminal history either. And you look at and witnessing firsthand the emotional trauma, he says, what?
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, and still got arrested.
Well, I think, I was a hard charging prosecutor. I believe tough on crime when it's warranted, right? And as a young prosecutor, I may not have been able to delineate between the two. I just was hard charger. But I think sometimes people forget that accidents happen. Sometimes it's just a traumatic accident. And
Well, that's factual.
And they
that
treat
is-
everybody as they're guilty.
yeah,
And that's really not the case because, there are some naive, brain dead, not brain dead, but just naive people that just don't see the evil. So they would never in their life think they run over a person,
yeah.
you know.
Well, and this was brought up in my case. He said, "Well, look, he knew he hit something and he got stopped his car, so he must have known." And I'm like, no normal person feels a bump and thinks, "Oh, I just hit a person," right? You may think it's a dog. You may think it's something in the road.
Oh, there goes another homeless guy.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
thinks that way.
It's just, my brain wouldn't register it. And even if I saw the person, I don't think the human mind wants to process
That you ran over.
that you ran
someone.
over someone, and so your mind goes somewhere else. But Chad, you brought up a really good point that I wanted to circle back with, which was the 911 calls. And I have seen this time and time again in my cases, in particularly self-defense cases, where there is in my opinion, a justified shooting, and then that individual calls 911. And the 911 operators are trained to elicit information, and rightfully so. And oftentimes, what I've seen is things taken out of context from those 911 calls. Either you're in shock, either you misremember in the immediate aftermath of that shooting, or maybe you sound monotone, you sound callous to the shooting. So what I always advise clients is if you are with someone else, have them call, because you don't need a jury to be hearing how monotone. I do think it's important.
They
to
they
report
word
it.
vomit.
Yeah.
And they forget, and this brings up a good point. And I 100% on page week. I had a 911 operator in one of my classes here recently, and that's exactly what we tell our students. You call 911. You tell them you're a victim of a crime and that you need 2 ambulances, what you're wearing, and where you're at, and you hang up.
Yeah.
Well, I know the element of stress in a call like that to 911 is it's scientific, the emotional state that a traumatic person is going through with actions they do and things they say. And officers have been guilty of it. Well, I double tapped. No, you didn't. You emptied your magazine and reloaded.
Yeah.
Even trained professionals.
Well, there was that one officer, they did that study. He got into a firefight, never even shot one round, but he thought he had shot and emptied his magazine.
So in defense of people that get in these situations, man, I agree. Have someone else call 911, and and I'm going to revert back to my early days as a road warrior, a deputy back in the day, and it was us against them. And then, what do you mean? You got a good defense attorney, whatever, and it was blah blah down, whatever.
Yeah.
And the more you start getting ingrained to the real world, thank God for defense attorneys.
Yep.
And I mean it, and I say it factual. There's a very powerful need for you, and I'll tell the people out here that if you need a defense attorney, I did my research on you before we came over here. I'm an investigator. This is the man to hire right here.
Oh, well, hey, I appreciate
And-
that.
And that's what I tell our students now, I used to just tell them go to Dallas. Russell, I trust Russell. I've always trusted Russell, or I haven't always trusted Russell because met Russell several months ago, and I trust Russell with the work he does and how fast he gets stuff done. We're not going to talk about that incident, but I had somebody dear to me that needed a lawyer and needed him fast, and I trusted Russell, and he took care of everything. And don't, I mean, I've told you from day one, I appreciate that.
You certainly have.
I walked into your office desperate as shit and needed help. And we do this every day, but I didn't have time to go to Dallas. I have time to go,
Yeah.
we have to have one now. And that whole deal was a big misunderstanding, of course, but it could have really turned out bad, but it didn't turn out bad because of Russell.
And I'm familiar with that case.
Yes.
And a phenomenal job you did.
Yes, he is.
Because I come from a perspective of, well, let's look at the facts here and right there, and you're right.
And our very close, our staff and our very close instructors know about the incident, Russell. No detail for detail, like this one over here. But they also know that I trusted you and how fast things could have got out of hand, and how you got them back under control, and everything was, taken care, because it was a misunderstanding, and you know that it wasn't like we were, and everybody knows that actually knows the story, but.
Well, you talk about it, and we're talking about a misunderstanding, and I believe it.
Yeah.
But we've just talked about 2 or 3 other cases that were probably misunderstanding
Yes.
too. Just a traumatic accident.
That sent people to prison.
Very, very different outcome. And so, one, I appreciate the trust you put in me. I don't take that lightly. And I love what I do. That wasn't always the case. When I was a prosecutor, I loved it. I loved wearing the white hat. I loved the prestige that comes with being a federal prosecutor. Defense lawyer, not really the case. Well, when I started my practice, I was a little embarrassed about being a defense lawyer because it comes with a stigma. And, when people first asked me what I did, I would say, oh, I'm a former prosecutor. Because I didn't want to have to deal with people, the judgment. Now, man, I wave that flag. I'm very proud to defend the Constitution and the rights of individuals. I really look at myself as like the tip of the spear, and I prayed about it a lot, and I really feel like this is where God wanted me, and I take it very seriously, because what a gift, what a blessing to be in a career where I get to help people.
Yes, and you helped me tremendously, and but. Where's my coffee at? I'm got a little, but it's cases like that that could go south. Thank you. I just didn't want to get up and they could go south when it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Kind of like the run over and look at the lady that had to plead, guilty or plead out.
That just hurts.
There's a lot of stuff. I don't know where the transfer from one file of that video to somebody else or DA's office, or how it got corrupted or fuzzy,
Yeah.
But there are possibilities. I'm not saying anybody did it on purpose, but it was done. According to her lawyer, it was very grainy and only like 10 seconds. Well, that's not the full video that we provided, that shows his character beforehand, what his actions and how he was presenting himself. But the 911 operator in here, we when I start telling you this is what you do, and then you hang up, she's like, hold, I'm a 911 operator. We need as much information as we can get. And I explained to her, I said, hold on. I said, I understand that, but people word vomit.
Yep.
They remember things that may have happened, or forget things that really are important, and may have seen things that really didn't happen. And I said, they're all, she goes, but we're not out to get, I said, but who do you give those videos, those recordings to? I said, I'm not saying your job's bad. I'm not saying 911 operators are bad. What I'm saying is who requests for those court recordings? She said, the DA's office. There you go.
Yeah.
I'll take it a step further. I own a private investigative firm, and I'm often asked to take video, audio, whatever, and I have specialists that I utilize. That when I was doing Hollywood, cleaning up sound and video elements in that arena, and we'll take video or audio and clean it up, and it's amazing what different sounds that are there, but you can't hear them unless you have it cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's factual right there, and that will and can assist someone in a defense.
Well, and you're right, but and
I'm what?
I said you're right about
I'm what?
that. This guy. It's very rare that you're right.
I take advantage
but
of
the
that.
911 operator back here, when she's seen it from my point of view,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to make sure she understood. So during break, I went to her. I said, "Listen," I said, "I am not saying you 911 operators are out to get nobody. I'm not saying you're bad." And she goes, "No." She goes, I only seen it one-sided until you explained it to me." She goes, "Now I see it's your side." She goes, "I agree with you." And they agreed. She was agreeing with me. And she's from a bigger area. She was in town visiting whatever, and she's from a bigger, metropolitan area. So she actually seen it from my side and agreed with me.
Wow.
And she goes, "You're right." And then she goes, "I hear people just want to tell everything." I said, "Yeah, because they're trying to defend themselves on the phone with a 911 operator." Yeah. They're trying to explain their defense case already.
And you take their emotions at that level are off the charts, and it's hard to the untrained person, even the trained person, he's allowed to,
Even the trained person. So this is interesting because if you're involved in a police involved shooting, the unions say they can't interview you for like 2 to 3 days, right? That's generally my understanding. Is
we weren't union, but I have worked police involved shootings.
Yeah. Or were you allowed to interview the shooter immediately? Or in my understanding, in the cases I've worked, they kind of wall off the officers for like 48 hours because of the science that says
we waited 48 hours for I did.
And that's what we tell ours.
With the officer.
We tell them, we tell our students, you tell them that you're willing to cooperate, but please give you 48 hours.
Yeah.
And I had one guy tell me, he says, "So what are you going to do if they arrest you?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go sit in jail for the next 48 hours. Yeah. I said, "I'm going to have USCCA and I'm going to be calling them." Telling them, "Hey, got a problem here." He said, "So you're just willing to go to jail for the next 48 hours? I said, "I'd rather go to jail for 48 hours than the next 21 years.
Yeah. Or life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll bring the heat.
And he kind of sat back and looked at me. I said, "I'll take 2 days in jail over 20 years.
Yeah.
Any day of the week."
Yeah. You can pay me $100,000 to give that advice, or you can get it from Chad for free, because that's exactly what I would tell you to do. I would say, wait that 40 hours, go sit in jail, wait for your lawyer to get there, because I've seen it over and over again. It gets used against you. I mean, I have a case right now, and where just kind of word vomiting to 911, and I think he was justified in the shooting, and I think he was traumatized. He wants to justify it. Like, this is why I did it, and this is what I saw. And man, is the
But a
person
jury,
okay?
they don't understand that.
Yeah.
They don't understand the stress you're under. They don't understand you word vomiting. They don't understand, that you may have seen, that you're just, your brain is just, I mean, your heart rate's running 177 beats a minute.
Yeah.
You are under a lot of damn stress. You're going to see and hear things that really never happened.
When you're on the on-scene aspect of this, as we were often, and you start seeing that right there, you get the aftermath of what is said, and you hear about what was said here. An experienced investigator go, sit in the car, breathe,
Yeah.
relax.
But how many investigators will actually do that, or do they want you to just go ahead and talk to me?
Say that again.
How many investigators will say, "Hey, why don't you calm down?"
It takes a seasoned
Okay,
investigator
exactly.
to do that, because everything now is recorded.
Yeah.
And came from the day when it wasn't recorded to it was recorded. But the thing is, let them settle down.
Yeah.
Let
And
'em
that's
settle
advice
down.
for your investigators out there, because you don't want to put a person in jail because they're word vomiting, and there's a lot of that false memory going on. But us as concealed carriers, I don't know if you experienced or if you're a rookie investigator. However, I need to keep my mouth shut because
the
I
key.
don't know you. We're not friends like that, you know.
That's the key.
But yeah, well, this has been a great podcast.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope it's helped some of our listeners. I hope for those that are still listening.
Does anybody got any questions out there coming in? Also, we would love to, if you want us to bring up or work on a topic, we do this twice a month. We need to get into it, but this guy over here, he just
I know the prodigal son. I was telling you, I've missed a couple. World traveler. I got cases all over. Just
So, my question is, if you want us to get on a topic or talk about something, or more or less, emphasize or something that we talked about, let us know. Just write a comment. We can touch on it here in 2 weeks, and kind of reiterate or talk about if you weren't understanding exactly what we were saying, or if you had a question about something we had said. We'd love to talk to y'all about it. I know that Rumble is we're now on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, but Rumble, we're getting a lot of views right now, and we really appreciate Rumble for pushing our videos out there and helping us with this. It's been a great thing, and we appreciate, like I said, need a lawyer, go with this guy. Need to go with USCCA. Need a PI. Yeah, but you're licensed, but you can work pretty much. What states are you licensed in?
State of Texas.
Okay, New Mexico, Oklahoma. Sorry.
No, I can.
Yeah,
can
he's
hire
got guys.
investigators all across
Yeah,
the
he's
world
got
with
guys
me.
out there. Scott's a fair, honest person. But yeah, any questions, anything like that? And of course, we're on TikTok.
are we now?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're live on TikTok right now. I haven't got banned from TikTok.
Well,
yet.
I was like, thank you for not making me do some dance or something like that. We'd lose subscribers if
we
they saw
got
it.
we got a pretty good following on TikTok. We about 186,000 on TikTok. Yeah,
It's crazy.
so we're doing pretty good.
I got like 34.
And I think we're over on JM4 Tacticals page. Hey guys, again, we're selling T-shirts. Go to our website, check out our T-shirts. They're good quality T-shirts that are done right here in Abilene. Of course, everybody knows that we're fighting this federal lawsuit that we're for patent infringements. People trying to take our jobs and move them overseas. And I'm just going to be frankly about it. And whenever that lawsuit is over with, I'm going to tell about the stolen valor, all the fake training that they're providing, all the false documentation. I'm fixing to tell it all. In fact, I'm doing everything I can to keep my mouth shut because I got receipts for everything. And I'm going to bring that shit. I'm not even playing.
He ain't playing.
But I am not playing. I mean, you've seen how that fake stuff.
Yep.
That's some. And I will bring the deposition where they admit that it's fake and still doing it.
I'm sure your civil lawyer's like, oh, please, Russell, help me. So we'll wait till after the case is resolved to.
We
drop
don't know
those
what
bombs.
case we're talking about. I didn't name no names.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. In my opinion. All right, there you go. I love you, Brandon. But yeah, in my opinion. We are fighting for our jobs. We have been fighting like hell for 3 years. We're in that fourth quarter. We're fixing to go to jury trial. We're going to win this thing. We're going to keep our jobs here in the United States and not have them moved overseas. So if you want to support us, go to the website, check us out, JM4 Tactical, buy you a T-shirt. I'm not asking you to give me money. Go buy you a quality T-shirt. These are good My wife's probably in there freaking out right now, going, "Shut him up, Russell." um, but their tri blends are good. They're printed right here in Abilene, Texas, by a family-owned business, and proceeds are going straight into helping us finish out this lawsuit. I mean, I've put hundreds of thousands of dollars into this lawsuit of our own money, protecting this company and protecting our jobs and our people's jobs. And we've had some really good people that's helped us and bought shirts, and we've even had one guy send us a check, and I called him and I was like, "You don't even know how much I want to thank you," you know. And he's like, "No," he's like, "I've been a long time customer of yours," and he said, "I seen that y'all were needing help," and I said, "Well, I could have went and bought some T-shirts, but he sends us a check, and you don't. That helps. That stuff helps because these lawyers are." Our law firm they're working a lot of hours on this. They have put in a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And it's not, there's a lot that's been put in on this case.
Yeah, lawyers ain't cheap. I'll tell you that. Not good ones aren't.
No, especially patent lawyers.
Yeah.
But it's just we feel it's a blatant, I feel it's a blatant ripoff of us to take for the almighty dollar to take our jobs overseas, and in my feeling, I feel that it's to put out a crap product for a cheaper price. I feel. I was always told to use I feel.
I
feel. My wife's still going, "Russell, shut him up.
Yeah.
Shut him up before he spills it everything."
I think you got a great company. I think you're on sound legal footing, and I wish you the best. I see you fighting. I'm proud to be your friend.
Well, we appreciate it.
I'm excited to see everything come to fruition for you.
Yeah, and like I say, guys, you go buy a T-shirt. They do have that donation deal. If you want donate $1, but buy you a T-shirt. And if you can't buy a T-shirt, $1 would even help. I mean, we're not. Everything is going to help us relieve, because we're hundreds of thousands of dollars into this in the past 3 years. That is a lot coming out of,
Man, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have fought the hell out of this. And it's because we're fighting for what we feel is right. It's ours. We feel it's ours and it's right. And these employees, Jessica over here, we've talked about it. We've had meetings about it, and they know that we're fighting for them. They know that it's put a lot of stress on this company. They haven't had raises in a couple of years, but they're still with us. And still, because they know when this is all over with, we're going to take care of them.
Yeah, and I'll add something to it. A lot of people don't know about JM4 Tactical, that Chad Myers right here patented a product for women first and foremost, for women's personal protection, and what you do for the women in the community and abroad is this isn't just it's a firearm, this or that. No. The compassionate history of how you founded this company, it was really instrumental in my coming and talking to you. And
we
this
train
is
schools.
more than just a Chad thing. It's a philosophy behind how he has chosen, and his incredible wife Shondelyn has supported, and she's the boss. But anyway, what he has done for women, not only in the United States, but his product, and that's how it started. And when you support Chad, you support an organization that is very pro-women, complements the men who also carry as well, obviously. But it's more to it than I know you wouldn't say that. Yeah. So I'm here to say.
Well, my wife runs one of the largest Girl in a Gun chapters in the U.S. She has over 240 members.
Wow.
Right here in Abilene, Texas. So this company was always been founded over protecting women and doing things for women, and not just but women, but also, a lot of people don't realize a majority of JM4 Tactical is run women. Now, Dimensions, we have a lot of our instructors, but we have a lot of female instructors too from Girl and a Gun. But as for making the holsters all the way up to your customer service, it's all women. When you think of tactical, I am the only guy that works for JM4 Tactical.
True story.
Technically, we just hired Cody, but I'm being Cody. We're the only ones.
Wow.
Everybody from making them to your customer service are women and are females, and people go, "What? Yeah, JM4 Tactical. Yes, it's women." And that's because this company was founded over protecting women. The first magnetic holster was designed for my wife. I mean,
Wow.
so it's one of those things that it's a phenomenal, but a company that we created back in 2016, and we're just fighting for our jobs, and our livelihoods, and these girls and their kids, and and things like that. So yeah. If one person donated $1 that watched these videos on Rumble and everywhere else, I mean, that would be great. But go buy a T-shirt, buy a bag of coffee. I don't like to beg for money, So go buy something, please. We have some good quality shirts, like I said, and
It's legit.
And the coffee's roasted right here in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
We handpicked all our own flavors. Holsters made right here in the state of Texas, with American-made materials, except for the magnets. Got to put that disclaimer in there. They come from China.
How many shirts do you sell a week?
I don't know. They just put these shirts out, and it actually a family-owned company here in Happily are printing on them and getting them, and so they're able to, make a little extra off of each shirt. But they've given us a really good discount on them.
Man.
So I don't know exactly. That would be something to ask Sean and Lynn, because they're putting in, we just started this for the lawsuit.
So we have about 20,000 people that watch this, right? So what would 1% be? Is that, how many of my math? Is it 200?
Math.
200 times
I don't know.
times 10 would be
20,000, 10%.
2,000 would be 10%,
Yeah,
right?
200.
So 200 would be 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make this deal if there's anyone still listening. If we can sell 100 shirts, that's just half of 1%. I will donate $1,000.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we'll do that through Friday, through this week. So we can sell 100 shirts.
We can sell 100 shirts. Russell's going to donate $1,000.
Yeah.
Sounds fair to me. Thank you, Russell.
I'm hoping we get hundreds more. But
Yeah.
you guys go buy these shirts. Help our friend Chad out. It goes to a great cause.
Did you put the link on there on Rumble? She's getting it on Rumble right now, and on YouTube and everywhere else. But yeah, I think actually, and JM4 Tactical. You just go to JM4 Tactical website. You can pick them shirts up right there. It's on and there's a whole blog written. There's actually videos, and there's certain things I can say and certain things I can't say. And my question now, while I got you in here, because you're a little cheaper than me calling Brandon. Okay. If hypothetically, if somebody's in a lawsuit and they have not, and there's been a countersuit filed on them for posting disparaging comments online, but they've never posted anything online about that individual ever, and then 2 or 3 years later they say the hell with it and they just throw all the information out there, you can't sue somebody for something they're going to do. They would have to file a whole different lawsuit, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it would have to be a different lawsuit. It's you're at that point you're asking for like injunctive relief, but it sounds, when we get into tomato,
My wife's fixing to kill both of
it
us.
sounds like I want her on my side of this. So I'm gonna.
But you can't sue somebody when it's the truth.
Well,
You can,
yeah,
but
yeah, that's
the truth.
You'll litigate the truth.
litigate the truth. Well, look, I appreciate everyone watching, and I'm excited to get back in the saddle and back. I hope all our listeners reach out to you and let us know. Say if you give us a topic, any area of law that you you guys want to hear something on, I'm happy to provide my 2 cents.
Yeah,
At our
we
next-
would love to talk to y'all about it. Just shoot us a comment. You can also email us at support@jm4tactical.com. And if you have any questions about the lawsuit you want to call, we're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. You can pick up a shirt that way. Just call the JM4 Tactical.
All right.
Okay. Hey, rest y'all have a good rest of Sunday. Love y'all guys. Y'all got anything
Thanks
else?
for having us.
Go buy those shirts.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
All right. Love y'all. God bless.
Oh man, I'm going to.